Alright, so I got a suggestion from a friend that shall remain nameless, to video blog. Now, I don't think I'm interesting enough to video blog, and had this one event not taken over my life as much as it has in the last week, I wouldn't even be talking about this into a webcam. But it's kind of a big deal because it's the kind of the most committed I've been to a television show in a while. I just sat through 99 episodes roughly of Burn Notice. I've seriously, through the last week, I have burned through, pun intended, 99 episodes, which is pretty much all the episodes that are available on Netflix. I, uh, I read the synopsis of the first 6 episodes of season 7, and then kind of finished out the rest of the episodes up until now via Xfinity, Comcast, whatever you want to call it. So I say all of that to say this. I really wasn't ever had it. I didn't ever have it in my plans to watch Burn Notice. I knew they had a very talented cast and whatnot, but it just, I don't know. I anything my mom usually likes, I try and stay away from. I love my mom, but sometimes my mom's choice in television shows are kind of weird. And so I really had to come on board with this show via my friends, who most are very into very cult followings and cult movies. And since Bruce Campbell is in this, I'm guessing that's how a majority of my friends got into it, because every time I mention Burn Notice, they just shout at me Bruce Campbell. So I guess he's the real draw of the show for them. Burn Notice is about a spy who gets burned by his agency. And burn is pretty much the same thing as being fired in the intelligence world, national intelligence world, government intelligence world, whatever you want to call it. But instead of like calling you into an office and telling you that you're let go, they basically cut you off from all of your financial accounts and wipe out your ID and everything that pretty much establishes you as you. And this happens to a guy named Michael Weston, a very beautiful, beautiful man named Michael Weston, who is played by the equally beautiful Jeffrey Donovan. So for all of you who haven't seen Burn Notice, I think right about here I'll insert a picture of Jeffrey Donovan so that you can see for yourself like how absolutely gorgeous he is. Alright, enough of that. And so he kind of goes on a mission to figure out who actually did this to him, because the orders to burn him had to come from very high up in the agency. And along with trying to find out who did this, he has a kind of on and off again girlfriend named Fiona. And he has a best friend named Sam, who is played by the legendary Bruce Campbell. And his mom is a very big part of the show. She kind of becomes a part of the action and whatnot, even though she begins very naive about what he does, because, you know, he worked as a spy, so he couldn't, you know, exactly tell her what he was doing. And in any case, the entirety of the show is basically him finding out who fired him or burned him, while also having like all these kind of side cases that help normal everyday people and I guess generate some sort of income for him, even though most of the time he doesn't actually take the money for helping these people. Burn Notice at its core is about a relatively good person who over time kind of gives in more to his dark side. Because when you look at this character, when you look at Michael Weston, you can tell that there is like a dark, kind of brooding, very violent, dangerous side to him, but he pushes it all down and he continues to do the right thing because it's good and it's you know, well, it's the right thing to do. But over the seasons, it goes from like this very kind of lighthearted, witty, you know, bantery spy show, And somewhere in season 6, shit gets real. Like, it gets really dark, and people start dying, and just it goes in a completely different direction. And right now, at season 7, it's still sort of continuing this dark descend, and I sometimes don't feel like I'm watching the same show, because when I started it, it was a lot of Bruce Campbell with like one-liners and talking about mojitos, and now it's a lot of brooding and, feeling of hopelessness and anger and crying, and just all the stuff that was not in the first couple of seasons of Burn Notice. I'm okay with this. I think this is uh, a great sort of expansion of the show and the depth of the show, which I love about this show, because it's not expected of the path. This is not the expected path that you can see, or that you predict Burn Notice going down. Because, like I said, it starts off as this very lighthearted, kind of comical show about, the spy trying to figure out who burned him, and he's got like his ragtag bunch of, kind of government worker rejects, along with him. But the show has done a very good job of kind of transforming into something that you end up taking very seriously. So Burn Notice is entering it is in its last season. As a matter of fact, at the time of recording, it's Thursday, September 5th. The second to last episode of the series is airing tonight. The first 6 seasons are on Netflix. There are 98 episodes altogether, and a like made for TV movie that I guess aired. But there's 98 episodes on Netflix. You don't necessarily need the TV movie, but it's entertaining, and it's an hour and 30 minutes of pure Bruce Campbell goodness. You won't be able to catch up if you have not started watching Burn Notice. You will not be able to catch up before everything goes down. 7 seasons of the show is just impossible to go through in the time that you have. But I'm still going to give you 3 reasons to watch Burn Notice in the future, because I seriously think this is a great show, and it's not a perfect show by any means. There are parts that kind of make me cringe, and parts that make me sort of question what was going on when they decided to put that in. But the positives so outweigh the negatives with this show, and I'm so sorry I slept on this show for so long and waited so long to jump on the bandwagon. But here are my 3 reasons to become a Burn Notice fanatic. Reason number 3 to watch Burn Notice: the cast. This show really has an incredible cast of actors that really have a really great amount of chemistry together. I guess the 4 main people would be Jeffrey Donovan, who plays Michael Weston, the lead character. He is absolutely gorgeous. I think I've said that like 98 times already. This is the last time. He's gorgeous. Bruce Campbell, also gorgeous in his own way. You really can't not love Bruce Campbell. I think it is pre-programmed into the DNA of everyone born after like 1984. Gabrielle Anwar, who is the healthiest 00 I've ever seen in my life. She is tiny and adorable, and she and Jeffrey Donovan have great chemistry together. And I really like her character. She keeps it girly, but she also like totes guns around. Very nice. And then there's Kobe Bell, who I kind of recognized from a show called The Game. Admittedly, I haven't really watched that show a whole lot, but Kobe Bell is incredibly good looking, so he's pretty easy to remember. And I was a little worried about him coming in so late into the series, because the other 3 main characters have such a chemistry already built up by the time he comes in, that it's a little hard to imagine someone else coming in perfectly matching that atmosphere. But he does. He's great. He's a great straight guy. He's a great funny guy. He can pretty much pull it all off, and he's very charming, and you immediately fall in love with this character. There's also the supporting cast, I guess. Seth Peterson, who plays Nate Weston, who is Michael Weston's little brother. Great character. He's kind of a screw up in the family, but I think Seth does a really good job of bringing enough heart and enough sort of con artist kind of vibes to Nate to make him very different from Michael, but very lovable at the same time. Like, you can't help but love Nate and, you know, cheer him on and want him to sort of overcome his demons and whatnot. Sharon Gless, I really hope I said that right, plays Madeline Weston, who is Michael and Nate's mother. She's incredible on the show. She's sort of the one that everyone kind of goes to talk to when morale is down and people's motives get a little mixed up. Reason number 2 to love Burn Notice: the voiceover. I don't really like voiceover. As a writer, they teach you to not really deal with voiceover too much and not to really write it in, because it can feel very, it can make stuff heavier than it has to be. There's sometimes a large amount of exposition that gets exposed via voiceover, but Burn Notice does voiceover very, very well. It always feels very cohesive with what's going on screen, but also I feel like the writers of Burn Notice is secretly giving the world spy advice.
Creating a good diversion isn't just about making noise and firing guns. It's about giving the enemy the impression that he's being attacked in a way that demands the immediate attention of all of his forces. Ideally, something big and very, very loud.
I'm not sure how much of the advice in the voiceover comes from actual field intelligence or an actual experience, but it always feels very legit. Like, everything that Michael says always feels like it's solid. Like, you could use that advice to get out of a situation or to put yourself into a situation in some cases. So the voiceover always goes very, very nicely with what's going on, and it's very hard for me to approve voiceover because it's normally very unnecessary. But even if it is unnecessary, it should always be something that is welcomed. You know, it doesn't have to be vital to the narrative, but it shouldn't hold the narrative back or make the narrative feel too messy. And the voiceover is always really, really nice in Burn Notice. And the number one reason you should totally commit to 99 plus hours of Burn Notice is character arc. Michael Weston starts the series as, like I mentioned, a decent human being, as decent as he could be considering the field that he went into or the profession that he ended up doing. Like, everything he does, even if the outcomes aren't the most moral, they always feel like they're done with the best intentions, and you cheer Michael on and you love him, and you really respect what he has to do, and you feel for him when he has regrets about how he has to do certain things. And that's all well and good, but there is this deterioration of decency in Michael throughout the series, and it's very it's kind of slow, but it's steady and it's noticeable, but it's done with some really great pacing, and I love that this is happening. I think a lot of shows like Burn Notice that start off as sort of these kind of light-hearted, romps, for that kind of are more concentrated on the laughs and whatnot. They forget that you still kind of have to develop characters. You still have to um, have them learn something, especially if you're a show that's been going for 7 seasons. Like, there has to be some sort of change within the characters. And really, I do believe there is a gradual change with all of the characters, with Fiona and Sam and Jesse. But it's definitely the most noticeable in Michael, because his good deeds and his morality is so showcased in the show, and it's a main point that they make in the show. It's almost a character of its own, Michael's own sort of personal moral code, and to see it gradually just diminish over time, it's just nice to see that a show like this took the time to actually develop a character. And there is a good chance that Michael will not end this show as a good person. And that's really, I mean, Breaking Bad is the only other show that's doing that. And Breaking Bad and Burn Notice are so far apart on the spectrum, it's not even funny. But I mean, Breaking Bad is really the only other show that is daring enough to start off with a morally decent character and end with just sort of unintentional monster. And uh and I appreciate that about Burn Notice more than pretty much anybody, probably. All right, so that is my proposal, I guess, to the internet to watch Burn Notice. As I mentioned, Burn Notice is not a perfect show, but I mean, what is? But it's fun, and it's got heart, and it's entertaining, and it's full of surprises. And I think that's the best thing about Burn Notice, is that it does have the ability to surprise you still, even though it kind of sets up like it's going to be one type of show, and then it turns around and it really hits you in the feels, to be perfectly honest. So that's it for this video blog. I don't know if I'll ever do more of these, but I guess if I don't receive all the hate of the internet for this, then we'll see about doing more. So until next time, maybe.